Businesses all across the nation are struggling. I'm Mason Kinsey, and coming up on WVU News, I'll tell you what that means for Morgantown small businesses like this one.
Flooding in southern West Virginia has left many people displaced. I'm Reagan Deuceman, and coming up on WVU News, I'll tell you about the relief efforts set in place to help those in need.
I'm James Daly, and I'll tell you about the change in vaccine requirements lawmakers are looking to make. Our Emmy-award winning WVU News starts now.
West Virginia's governor is asking lawmakers to pass a bill that opponents say could lead to an increase in the spread of diseases for school-age children. I'm Patrick Walsh.
And I'm Jackie Gunther. A natural disaster in southern West Virginia left 14 of its 55 counties in a state of emergency. Now communities are working to rebuild.
These stories and more coming up on WVU News, an Emmy award-winning newscast produced by television journalism students right here at West Virginia University.
The West Virginia Senate has passed a vaccine exemption bill, changing mandates for school-age children.
If passed by the House, the bill will allow for religious and philosophical exemptions.
Our legislative reporter James Daly joins us now to tell us more. James?
Thanks, Jackie. Patrick, the bill comes after Governor Patrick Morrisey signed an executive order in January looking to make the same change. Today in West Virginia, parents can file for medical exemptions to the state's vaccine requirements for their children. But Senate Bill 460, which was approved by the chamber last month, would change that. Republican Governor Patrick Morrisey has asked lawmakers to expand upon these exemptions and join 18 other states that grant philosophical and 47 states that grant religious exemptions. But even some GOP members of the State House disagree with the potential change.
Senate Bill 460 would allow for religious and philosophical exemptions to the state school vaccination requirements. Supporters of this bill believe that parents should be able to make their own decisions about their kids' vaccination status.
I think it's very important that people have informed consent and that they are agreeing to having that happen and it not be forced on them.
Opponents of the bill say vaccine requirements help protect communities' health, and West Virginia is leading the country because of its mandates for school-aged kids.
These are immunizations that we've had for years and years, and in fact, things like polio, we have eradicated that. And so this could lead to a situation that could really harm our public health.
Every state allows medical exemptions, but West Virginia is currently only one of 5 states that doesn't allow religious or philosophical exemption to its vaccine requirements.
Dr. Jeremy LaRue is an infectious disease specialist with Mon Health Medical Clinic in Morgantown. LaRue believes that this type of legislation could lead to an increase in diseases.
So I think if we ever went toward a model where people were choosing whether they were going to vaccinate or unvaccinate their children, we would see significant increase in disease.
States with loose vaccine requirements have experienced a recent outbreak in measles, and an unvaccinated child in Texas died this month from the disease. LaRue says these deaths can be prevented.
While it's true that an isolated case of measles, for example, is not uncommon, what is uncommon is to have multiple cases in a close proximity. And that just goes to show when there is no immunity in that community, how quickly it will and can and will spread.
If the bill is passed, it is expected that Governor Morrisey will sign it into law.
According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, there have been more than 200 measles cases in the U.S. this year. More than 3/4 of those cases are in people under the age of 19, and almost none of them were vaccinated.
Thanks, James. While it's not required to get a flu shot, many healthcare professionals are urging West Virginians to stay up to date on their vaccines this year, Jackie, as the state experiences a surge in positive cases.
Nationally, Patrick, the CDC reported more than 24 million cases so far this flu season, and more than 300,000 of them resulted in hospitalization.
Health reporter Andrew Freed joins us live in the studio to tell us more about how you can stay healthy this flu season. Andrew?
Thanks, Patrick. Jackie, nearly 3,000 flu cases were reported in just 1 week in West Virginia last month. And healthcare workers say the increase in patients is putting a strain on the state's healthcare system. The flu virus affects your respiratory system and spreads through droplets when an infected person coughs or sneezes. It can cause symptoms like fever, muscle ache, and fatigue. Infection levels have reached a high across the country not seen for 15 years, since the swine flu outbreak in 2009 and 2010. Medical professionals are urging people to get vaccinated in order to help reduce the surge in hospitalizations.
It does put a significant strain on our resources and our staff here at the hospital. Honestly, what the best thing for us to do is to prevent the flu from happening in the first place through vaccinations as well as good hand hygiene, things like that nature, to reduce our overall burden.
Locant says you should also avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth to prevent spreading the virus. Doctors say if you do start to experience flu symptoms, do not wait to see a doctor. That could lead to patients experiencing symptoms for even longer.
Thanks, Andrew. According to research by West Virginia University, 94% of the state's communities are in special flood hazard area. That means they're at high risk for flooding.
And last month, Jackie, 14 counties in southern West Virginia experienced devastating floods once again, resulting in a federal disaster declaration.
Energy and environment reporter Reagan Dusman joins us from Studio B at the Media Innovation Center to tell us more about how these communities are rallying together to support people who have lost everything. Reagan?
Thanks, Jackie. Patrick. 3 people were confirmed dead in the southern West Virginia flooding that had several rivers reaching near record levels. More than 100 homes experienced major damage and more than 50,000 people were without power. But almost as soon as floodwaters receded, neighbors, volunteers, and first responders came together to begin the long road to recovery. Record-breaking flooding in southern West Virginia has left residents like 82-year-old Yola Prater lucky to be alive.
By the time I got my shoes on, I just barely got out of the house. Or if I was 5 minutes later, I wouldn't be here.
Due to major rainfall on February 15th, 14 West Virginia counties were in a state of emergency. This has been the second deadliest flood West Virginia has seen in 10 years. But the community is rallying around its members, providing supplies and support to those in need. Distribution centers and shelters were placed throughout affected counties. These centers supply residents with food, water, cleaning supplies, and a place to sleep. Jared Dean, Executive Director of Williamson Parks and Recreation, says it's been an emotional experience.
But, you know, right now with the folks that are coming in, you know, these families have lost everything. So, you know, my staff and volunteers, you know, they're loving on people and caring for people and we're feeding people. It's been an emotional experience.
More than 100 West Virginia National Guard members were deployed to assist with distributing supplies and rescue missions. Guard member Mason Foster says that cases like these can actually bring communities together.
I got you. Cases like this, like everybody's equal. Everybody needs help. Everybody's getting help. People who can volunteer, they're volunteering. I feel like it just builds a stronger community sense of pride and just sense of accomplishment because you're doing something so amazing in times of desperate need.
In 2023, more than 3 million Americans were displaced due to natural disasters. Prater says she hopes that doesn't happen to Williamson.
Like I said, it's no better place to live here than it is in this little town, I think, because everybody knows each other. But I'm sure after this, we're going to lose about everyone that's been affected because they've had enough.
Prater lost almost everything in the flood and says staying in Williamson might not be possible. President Donald Trump's federal disaster declaration means West Virginians impacted by flooding can access financial assistance for temporary housing and home repairs. Patrick, back to you at the Waterfront Studio.
Thanks, Reagan. In 2024, the Biden administration invested more than $1 billion in historically black colleges and universities across the country. The funding supported grants, scholarships, and aid given directly to students. But now, the Trump and Governor Patrick Morrisey administrations are asking these institutions to review their programs under anti-diversity, equity, and inclusion orders. West Virginia State University is one of 2 historically black higher ed institutions in West Virginia, being asked to review their programs. But the university's president says state prides itself in creating a welcoming environment and sense of community for students from all backgrounds.
We are a small community, and we very much are a family, a place where you come, you know you're going to be supported, a place where people, faculty, staff are going to know your name, they're going to call you by your name.
Both of West Virginia's HBCUs, West Virginia State and Bluefield State, serve a larger population of white students than black. State's enrollment is 65% white.
The West Virginia Secretary of State's office reported more than 13,000 small businesses registered to operate in the state last year, but with wages growing by only 1% over the same time period. Small business owners say they're struggling to compete with major retailers that are able to offer cheaper prices. Economics reporter Mason Kinsey spoke with a new Morgantown bookseller and has this story.
You're welcome.
Morgantown local Lindsay Jacobs opened Monkey Wrench Books in September with the goal of spreading her love of books and coffee to her hometown.
It was just about rooting down, deciding that this is the community that we're going to be in.
But Jacobs has noticed a considerable dip in business so far this year.
People just have less money to spend, and so it's hard to say, hey, come in and buy, a $20 or $30 book when they can go to Walmart and maybe buy that same book for, $15 or $18, right? People are doing their best to survive.
In 2024, nearly half of all West Virginians considered themselves to be living paycheck to paycheck. And that's translating over to the money they spend in their communities. 12 businesses closed in the Morgantown area in January alone.
Businesses like these, the Morgantown Hollywood theaters that just months ago housed a fully functioning Regal movie theater. But in January, the theater was reportedly given just days' notice that they'd be locking their doors indefinitely.
While mass business closures can raise red flags for incoming and local businesses, officials like Mon County Commissioner Tom Bloom are working hard to assure prospective business owners that Mon County is right for them.
When you say West Virginia to the rest of the country, they think of Appalachia. They have a real negative concept. What we try and do in Montague County is give us the chance to come here. Once we can get you here, we know we can sell. We have an amazing population and a workforce.
Jacobs says despite the financial challenges, the community supports her.
Anytime we say, hey, this has been a really slow week, or we really need you all to show us some love, the community totally shows up. So that makes me feel confident that we're going to be okay and that we're going to be here for the long run.
Jacobs is confident her community has her back. Mason Kinsey, WVU News, Morgantown.
Coming up, a program at WVU is helping veterans with disabilities by creating lasting bonds with unlikely friends.
That story and more after the break. Stay with us. I'm Jackie Gunther, and after the break on WVU News, I'll tell you about the annual robotics competition held here at West Virginia University. Paw Blue. Welcome back. According to NASA, competitive robotics has reached an all-time high in participation in West Virginia. Last year, there were more than 500 teams competing across the state, up from just 50 in 2011. The VEX Robotics tournament held in Morgantown in February put the engineering and coding skills of the middle, high school, and college students on these teams to the test. I attended the competition to learn more about the impact robotics has on hundreds of West Virginia students.
Colin Farrell is an 8th grade student on the team at St. Joseph Central High School in Huntington. Farrell has been on robotics teams since the 3rd grade and says it teaches him many different skills.
You can't just know how to code. You also have to know the building aspect. You have to know gear ratios and building mechanics.
The VEX Robotics World Championship is the largest robotics competition in the world. More than 3,500 teams from 20 different countries participate in 250 qualifying tournaments, like the one here in Morgantown. But these competitions are about more than just making it to the championship.
Research shows that robotics engineering is the fastest growing engineering market in the country, with a projected 30% growth in the next 4 years.
Robotics-related jobs range from manufacturing to healthcare and require skills like engineering, programming, and machine learning. Statler College recruiter Norman Mihalik says these competitions help prepare students for their futures.
This competition really kind of parlays well into engineering programs, which then put you out in the real world in positions that are not only lucrative but fulfilling as well.
Farrell says his favorite part is traveling and the connections that come with competing.
I've talked to teams from China. Like, I've literally had to use Google Translate to talk to teams. It's really cool just having to use your resources to meet other people.
Farrell says he looks forward to more robotics competitions and projects in the future.
Visit the link at the bottom of your screen to learn more about robotics competitions in West Virginia.
According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the number of veterans with service-related disabilities has increased by 15% since 2008. And about 40% of veterans across the country are not enrolled in the health care services the federal government provides. Some nonprofit organizations in West Virginia are working to bridge that gap. Nonprofit reporter Madison Eli introduces us to the Hearts of Gold Service Dog program, and one veteran who says it gave him a best friend.
George Davis and his service dog Zoe are inseparable.
She's always at my side with me. We're walking through the store, she's constantly looking around, making sure I'm okay. Like I say, one of her greatest traits is bringing joy to so many people.
Davis served in the Army for 20 years and was diagnosed with PTSD. Zoe assists him with his mental health and mobility. She was trained by student handlers at the Hearts of Gold program at WVU, which trained service dogs to be placed with disabled veterans. Program founder Jean Mead says the program is both a learning and meaningful opportunity.
It has impacted lives from the students that have taken our courses and trained our dogs, all the way through someone in the community that has never heard of Hearts of Gold but meets one of our dogs on the street.
Dogs are trained for 2 years to do tasks related to mobility and psychiatric disabilities. Their training is tailored towards the client's needs.
Yes, good boy.
Handlers train dogs about 90 commands like this, Betty, to assist veterans with their everyday lives. A U.S. Census Bureau study found nearly a fifth of American veterans suffer from PTSD. Davis says he cannot imagine his life without Zoe.
Did they say you can get a replacement dog? Nobody can ever replace her. I don't want another replacement dog. She's going to be my service dog until one of us goes.
Davis and Zoe have been together for 5 years and are looking forward to many more. Madison Eli, WVU News, Morgantown.
After the break, we'll look at how one local high school basketball team's unique history has helped them succeed on the court.
Our sports team is with us after the break. Don't go anywhere.
I'm Connor White, and coming up on WVU News, I'll show you how the future of skiing is hitting the slopes here at Snowshoe.
After the break on WVU News, I'm Brian McQuillan, and I'll tell you about a coach serving his way through competition with international talent.
It has been said the sun might not always shine on West Virginia, but the people always do. And to truly appreciate our beauty, you have to look deeper at our passion, our purpose, at the fabric of who we are.
because it's always a great day to be a Mountaineer. Wherever you may be, let's go!
Welcome back. Morgantown High School's boys basketball team has established itself as a dominant force in West Virginia high school sports.
Sports anchor Terrell Thompson joins us now with more on how the Mohegans are continuing to build on their winning tradition. Terrell?
Thanks, Patrick, Jackie. MHS is currently the #2 seed in the WVSSAC 4A standings and sit at #3 in the Greater Pittsburgh area rankings. For 4 decades, Morgantown's high school boys basketball team has been a powerhouse on the hardwood. The team has raised 3 consecutive state championship banners, and with a 50-game home winning streak, they're hungry for a 4th. I took a closer look at this top-ranking team focused on continuing to build their legacy.
The Morgantown High School boys basketball team is one of the most winningest programs in the state of West Virginia. In the last 40 years, the school has only had 2 head coaches. Tom Yester coached the Mohegans for more than 30 years and guided the team to 16 state tournament appearances. In 2014, Dave Tomlin took over and in just 2 years led the program to its first state title in school history.
We built a culture, that started that 2016 team, and then, through our camps and the youth programs and, just setting the standard really high. I think it all starts with our defensive game planning and intensity, and, it's something that's really carried us over the years.
The Mohegans are currently the #2 ranked team in the state and are looking to add to their winning resume this season.
In the last 3 seasons, the Mohegans have won 3 consecutive state championships. But during that run, it was a success on this court that led the program to 50 consecutive wins at home.
Players are confident that the team can make a run and bring home their 4th state title.
We know what it takes up there, the banners. Coach Tomlin, all our staff knows what it takes. I mean, we just got to live up to the standard and work our tails off.
The coaching staff and players believe that meeting the standard will help the program stay consistent for years to come.
Morgantown's 2 high schools have a tradition of sending some top athletes on to play collegiate sports as well. 2 of WVU's top tennis players call the city their home. But aside from its 2 Morgantown natives, WVU tennis is made up largely of international players from places like Russia, Spain, and France. Brian McQuillan reports on how head coach Michal Lizats is using that global experience to build a winning culture.
In his 12th season as the head coach at WVU Tennis, Michal Lizats leads a team that consists of just 2 players from the U.S. While international student athletes have their own set of challenges, Lizats, a Slovenian native, can use his personal experience to help them adjust to Morgantown.
I think it's just sharing the experiences. I was a student athlete myself. I was an international, so I understand what they're going through, especially when they're freshmen. What they're going through when they're trying to adjust and assimilate to the life in the United States.
8 different countries are represented on Lizats' 2025 roster. Freshman Lila Byers and senior Catherine Rossick are the only players who aren't international, and they both are Morgantown natives.
Lizats began his coaching career at his alma mater, Georgia State, before making the move to the sidelines as head coach of the Mountaineers. Since then, he has brought in talent from France, Australia, Spain, and Norway to pick up wins on this court.
Even though everyone on the team comes from different backgrounds, it's that diversity that is helping the squad develop a strong bond.
No, I think that's what I love the most about our team is all the different nationalities and personalities. And I think we just have such good chemistry because we all can contribute with something special.
Last season, with a predominantly international roster, Lizats led the program to its most conference victories since joining the league. WVU is one of 6 Big 12 teams that have at least 7 international players. Brian McQuillan, WVU News, Morgantown.
In 2022, about 60% of women's collegiate tennis players were international athletes. 4 of WVU's 5 new players on their 2025 roster fit in that category.
Thanks, Terrell. During West Virginia's 5-month ski season, visitors to the state generate an estimated $250 million in revenue.
And Jackie, many resorts are reporting this is their best season in years, with parts of the state experiencing more than 3 times their typical snowfall in January alone.
And all that snowfall, Patrick, has been an opportunity for some of the youngest skiers in the state to further develop their skills. Arts and culture reporter Connor White takes us to Snowshoe Mountain, home of the Forever Wild U Ski team, for more.
4, 3, 2. An average of 180 inches of snow falls on Snowshoe Mountain yearly. Snowshoe's Forever Wild ski and snowboard team is taking advantage of all that powder.
I love skiing here. It's one of the best places on the East Coast to ski. I love it up here.
The Forever Wild team competes in the USA Snowboard and Free Ski Association's Appalachian Series, with hopes for their athletes to be a part of the 1,800 competitors at the national competition at the end of March.
We have a pretty rigorous training schedule throughout the year, so we make sure they're getting as many reps as possible.
In order to get the necessary training, many of the kids who make up the team are homeschooled, and after they do their work in the morning, they're hitting the slopes.
I love doing homeschool. It gives me a lot of free time, and I'm grateful that my parents have given me this opportunity to do it.
The Forever Wild team started 5 years ago and features athletes from West Virginia, Virginia, and North Carolina. Skiers and snowboarders aged 6 to 17 make up Snowshoe's Forever Wild team. Today, competitors start at the top of this mountain, and after a few jumps, twists, and turns, they'll make their way towards the finish line. While Forever Wild is one of the top teams on the East Coast, for Coach Ruckel, it's not just about the competition. It's watching athletes develop on and off the slopes.
And we get to see the progression, we get to grow with these kids, we get to be part of their home lives. So I think that's the most important to me.
Snowshoe is one of 5 locations that hosts USASA's Appalachian Series. Connor White, WVU News, Snowshoe.
Well, that's going to do it for this week's edition of WVU News. I'm Patrick Walsh.
And I'm Jackie Gunther. You can keep up with the latest from WVU News on our website at the bottom of your screen. You can also watch our shows on YouTube and statewide on West Virginia Public Broadcasting on Saturdays at 6:30 p.m.
We also stream on HD Media's website and watch us on KDKA TV out of Pittsburgh on Saturday afternoons.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on WVU News.